So in January, I went to the Body Holiday in St Lucia, which, if you've not heard about, is the most amazing place. And it is basically, you can go and do exercise, Pilates, spin, gym, gorgeous food. Oh, my mum's joined. Both our mums are on here. So modern. Yeah, so it's an amazing holiday, and Luana and I met at the Body Holiday, and as you do, got talking about all manner of things, and it transpired that Lou was an instructor at Barry's boot camp, which she just qualified. And for those of you that don't know Barry's boot camp, it is the best workout, and you basically go into a red room and you spend half the time on a treadmill battering yourself, and then half the time on the floor doing weights. We'll come more to that in a minute, but it's a bit of a cult. I first started it in New York. Well, first went in New York about 4 years ago, and since then it obviously opened in Manchester, and I always go in London when I'm in London. It's a mega workout. So we connected over that, and what actually transpired was that Lou had been trying to get into Barry's as an instructor for a long time, and she talked to me about the fact that loads of people, because it was quite a hard process to get into, that a lot of people want to get in and don't get in, and she kept going through the process, and people were telling her, why are you bothering to keep going, and it was her dream. And I just found that really interesting, that she managed to get this job that hundreds of people try and get. So when we met, she just kind of got through almost, hadn't you? And was about to start at Barry's in Victoria, and then was also an instructor at Core Collective in London as well. So I just thought, in this current climate, there's going to be people on here that are furloughed, that are in between jobs, or just their industry is affected, and they're thinking, what else could I do? What does the future look like for me? So Lou and I caught up yesterday, and I think the big thing that came through to me was about finding that feeling and that passion, and it's that feeling is the thing that you should chase. So we'll just start at the top, but do you want to just give a little bit of intro? You went to Milford, which is like a sport college, and you were a national sprinter. So do you want to just give a brief synopsis about that first of all?
Sure. Yeah. So I started sprinting when I was about 12. I discovered that I was actually quite quick. I think I won a big sort of area competition in Bromsgrove, and that was like the first time my family and I all realised actually I could be quite good at this. And I qualified for the nationals, I think it was that year, and ended up winning the 100 and 200 metres. And then I kept going for a few years after that. So I think I won 100 and 200 2 years running, and then another year I won just the 100. But that sort of feeling that I got from winning was where I really discovered, like, I guess just having that passion and that feeling of doing so well was like a feeling I'd never experienced before, and I think that stayed with me for now in what I do. Obviously, like I didn't start off, so yeah, I did that. I won't go too off track. I did that, and then I went to Millfield School, which is like known for being very sporty, and I did a lot of athletics there and became captain of athletics in my final year at Millfield, which was great. I loved that, and I trained really hard. I never really, to be honest, worked that hard, but when I discovered this love for this passion I had, I realized how hard I could work if I was really in it, like if my head was really in it as well, which is obviously like the sort of theme of today, which is what we're trying to get across, is that you've got to follow your passion. Like I never really worked that hard with work, but for this I did my absolute everything. So I did that, and then I went to Bath University, and I did a degree in sports performance there. So I did that for 3 years there. Then I sort of, to be honest, there I didn't do so much training. I just sort of did my degree, studied hard for that, then moved to London, didn't go straight into fitness, but then I sort of thought, right, I need to, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it. So then I got into fitness, and I knew I didn't want to work in a gym, because I think so many people go into the gym and they struggle so much. They'll be like looking around, not knowing exactly what to do.
You mean people going to the gym, don't you? So people that want to start exercising, they go to the gym. I like going to the gym, and I find it overwhelming. I hate training on my own.
Yeah.
And you said that similar, didn't you?
Definitely. Yeah, I've always struggled with that. And I knew that just working in a gym wasn't going to be for me in terms of my career. A lot of people do start off by working in a gym, in a big, mainstream gym on the sort of floor there. But I never did that. It just wasn't, I wasn't passionate about it at all. I knew it wasn't for me. And in London, it was in London in my sort of first job when I moved there. That was when I discovered boutique fitness, to be honest, and that was when I knew. I was like, this is incredible. Like, I loved everything about it. I think the main thing for me was that I realized I could really push myself. I felt more motivated in that environment than anywhere I'd ever trained before. And that's when I discovered Core Collective. And that was when I was sort of getting into, I've been PTing for a little bit, but hadn't really, I think boutique fitness was just sort of coming about then. And then when I discovered that, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to work here. Like, this is incredible. And yeah, when I got into there, it was the best thing ever. It was just what I wanted. And I still work there now, and I love it. But yeah, then I discovered Barry's, and Barry's is, again, it's the environment. You go in there and there's nothing like it to push you to your absolute maximum, but also to have a good time. It's not just about pushing yourself and going crazy and actually pushing yourself so hard that it's too much. It's more the environment. It's like an experience. You can go there with your friends. It's like something you do look forward to. Whereas the gym, I just find it quite boring. You go in and it's like, it's just.
Well, it's interesting because for those people that haven't done Barry's or like a boutique fitness, like I've been to One Rebel, Soul Cycle in London, just to explain it to people. So when obviously it started coming up in Manchester, we've got people from London and Manchester here. When Barry's first came to Manchester, and I can't remember what a single class is, but maybe it's £25-30. My friends were like, what is this Barry's you've been going on about? And it's hard when a PT can be like £25-30, it's hard to say to your friend, oh my God, no, seriously, it's worth it. Definitely. But we talked about the experience, which is obviously a lot about what we talk about at Make Events. We're not just about an event. No. It's the whole experience, and then the experience that you have with us as a client.
Definitely.
So how would you, like, if you could bottle that experience and kind of apply it to other people in different industries, how would you explain it?
I would say really that, like, going to the boutique, to a boutique studio, you go in, like, for example, at Core Collective, we have like a health sort of cafe. So there's all these amazing healthy snacks and smoothies which you can order after your workout, which is really, really lovely. Like, if you go there early in the morning, sort of got something to look forward to after. It's the whole experience there as well. Like, the changing rooms and everything are all really nice, not overly crowded. You sort of got smaller classes there as well. It's just a lot more of a personal experience, I would say. And you can make it into like now, I would say in London, so many people won't go out on Friday or Saturday night now because they're going to go to a class. It's crazy how it's taken over. Like, before, everyone would be like, oh, let's go out, let's get really drunk. But I feel like now so many people are like, oh, I don't want to get too drunk, so I'm going to this class in the morning, with so and so. And also, it's good to book in with a friend because it makes you accountable. You're going to go with a friend. You don't want to let them down as well. And it's a nice thing to do on the weekend. So I think, when I discovered boutique fitness, that was when I knew I had to get in that. And that was, I love it. I really love it. But then when I discovered Barry's, that was it for me. Like, I went every week as a little treat on Friday. And I discovered this guy's class that I loved, and I always went to his. Well, no, I went to a few of them, but I went to his a lot. And I was like, oh my God, if I could ever get in here, like, it would be. I kept sort of like thinking about it, and then thinking, oh no, I wasn't sure I'd go for it. And in the end, I was like, if I don't do it now, then I won't do it. Like, I need to go. I need to do it now.
Well, let's talk about that. Now, you are a little bit You're a little bit blurred, so I don't know if you've moved a little bit, but just I don't know if you move around a bit.
Let me just put this
I think
like this, because sorry, I'm basically, our house isn't very good for Wi-Fi, so I'm on 3G. I'm sorry about this. I'm on the floor. Is that better?
It's because you're so posh. You're posh and you live in the countryside. That's what the problem is, though.
Is this better though?
Yeah, I think so. We can hear you though. I think we can hear you. Yeah, so I think just going back to that, I think, yeah, definitely. I think it's as somebody said about you know, you don't have to think. That's what I like about it, especially at the weekend. You can go hungover because you can push yourself as much as you want, and you just feel like you've done something. So I think, like we talk about a lot, I'm sure everybody on here, there are like brands they absolutely love. So I love Selfridges. I could walk in Selfridges, buy nothing, and walk around and get inspiration for events. Like, I absolutely love it. So I think you fell in love with a brand. So I think a really good thing to say at this point is that people that are thinking about their careers and where they're going at the moment, I often think about what brands do you absolutely love. Like, I love wellness and fitness, though I'm not a natural sporty person, which we'll come to. So Make Events have worked with My Protein, Tribe, Total Fitness, Puma. And I think that's because we all kind of are in love with that industry. So when we pitch for jobs, we're just so passionate about it. So I think you fell in love with a brand, which was Barry's, but a very, very competitive brand. So, for example, if I went after Selfridges to do events, that's going to be really hard to get into. And you can feel like, oh, what's the point? They'd never use us. So you obviously had your mind fixed that you wanted to work for this particular brand, and in your mind you were chasing that feeling that you'd got when you'd won those 102.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
so honestly
you were chasing that feeling. So talk to us about the journey on getting into Barry's and how it felt at the end.
So do you want me to go from the start or just a quick?
Well, I think just a quick, because some people won't know the detail of Barry's, but just kind of how it works. You know, how you're persistent.
You just popped your hands over the microphone.
You did slightly distort them, didn't you?
So yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while. You know, I've been personal training for about 4.5 years now, and 4.5 to 5 years, and yeah, got into Core Collective. I've been working there now for a while, 3.5 years. Anyway, I'd been thinking about Barry's for a long while, and I basically met Anya, who's like the head trainer, head coach. And then I thought, after I'd met her, I thought, you know what, this isn't the right time. So I didn't go for it for about a whole another 8 months.
Why did it not feel like the right time, Lou?
I think, so I was moving house at the time. I was moving into like a building site. I think I was quite anxious about that. It was all a bit stressing when you move, and I was actually moving into like dust and dirt everywhere. So I was like, this is going to be awful. And also I knew it was going to put me under a lot of pressure. I just wasn't quite in the right mindset, to be honest, to go for it. But then I kept thinking about it nonstop, and I was like, right, after 8 months, I was like, right, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it. And it was my dream to get there. And so I went for it. I emailed her, didn't hear anything back. It's very hard to kind of like get in there. You normally, like, a lot of people might have someone that they know, a trainer who can then put you in touch with Anya, whereas I didn't really know anyone. So I emailed her, and then didn't hear back. So I went to her class. I was like, the only thing I can do now is go to her class. She had met me obviously like 8 months ago, so she'll hopefully recognize me. And straight away she recognized me. She was shouting me out in the class, which was amazing. And then at the end, I said, can we have a quick chat? And she said, look, come in for a mic test. So the first stage was a mic test, just a few minutes to see what you're like on the microphone, to see your energy, to see if you're going to be maybe the right sort of fit. That went well. About 2 months later, I had the training, which was like an intensive training for 2 weeks, where she'll sort of break you down. She'll find your weaknesses, and she knows exactly what to do to build you up and to make you stronger as a trainer. And also just with your confidence, with everything, she'll find your weaknesses by doing these different activities. Like, for example, one activity we had to do was in front of everyone else doing the training and her, we had to walk down the studio, and obviously the Barry studios are pretty big. It was like a long, like, so almost like catwalk past it, not catwalk, but it's like we basically had to do the catwalk to Usher.
Is Lou frozen? Oh no. Yeah.
To Usher.
You froze then, but
is it all right now?
Yeah, say that again. You had to dance to Usher. Did I hear that right?
Yes, so we had to do the catwalk up the studio and down to the Usher song, to Yeah, Yeah,
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I died.
And oh my God, like I went first as well. She was like, Lou, you're up first. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't really know what everyone was going to be doing. So I stupidly like took it really seriously and was walking down there like with no smile, just really serious, like up like a catwalk. And then everyone else was going and doing cartwheels and flips and like joking around. And I just looked like an idiot. But anyway, like the whole thing, yeah, she would find where you were weak and like where you were lacking confidence, and she would know how to build you up, what to do, and the whole experience. I mean, we had guys crying because they were sort of having to like she was delving deep into their life basically. But honestly, it was I've never experienced anything like it, and so I knew to get in there it was going to be probably the most challenging thing I'd ever done, and it really was. I mean, it really was. It was. We had a few different stages to get in. The first stage went really well. Then I had another stage where I just unfortunately got really nervous and didn't give my best performance. I was just a little bit too frantic, a little bit too energetic. You kind of got to very much build a journey with your workout, with hitting the right sort of energy with the right moments as such. It's a bit like an orchestra. And I was just a little bit too up the whole time. So I understood that and learned from it and took it back to the final round, which was the full hours class. I had to fill the room with 55 people that I either knew or I basically had to fill the room up. And on a Friday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So, you know, most of my friends are at work. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be impossible. But I knew that was like the first sort of stage almost. I had to fill this room up. So I was like going mad on Instagram, like, please come to this class. And somehow I didn't even know if I was going to fill it up, to be honest. I knew it was going to be a bit busy, but I didn't quite know if it was going to be complete. And it was amazing. The whole room was full. And I'd never felt nerves like it, probably because, well, so many reasons, but also having some of my good friends. And yeah, it was like, oh my God, the pressure is seriously on. It was a bit.
So
like
then you got
again,
through, didn't you? Got because what kind of just want to point out there is obviously I think that Anya showed some really amazing leadership skills, and I think when one of our greatest leaders, which was Alex Ferguson, you know, people still now say what an amazing leader was because he didn't pull any punches, but you knew when you did things right, you really were doing them right. And it sounds like that was the kind of leadership.
Yeah, Ellie was there, one of my friends in now. She was there, and yeah, I had some of my best friends, and they were all so supportive, and it really was the best feeling. Like, it brought me back to that feeling of winning the nationals, but honestly, probably to a whole new level, just because. Like, I mean, I wanted the nationals more than anything as well, but I guess that was quite a while ago now. But it was, that feeling is something that you kind of chase and you want it again and again. I think once you've had it once, you're like, I want that feeling again. And yeah, there was no feeling quite like it when I sort of went straight into the back room with them afterwards. I mean, the last sort of few minutes, I knew the last bit had gone well because I had all the like master trainers of Barry's, some of them sort of like going crazy and like really dancing, and like they were all like, the vibe in the room was incredible, and it was all thanks to, you know, everybody in the room. But yeah, straight away I went into the back room with the owners and with Anya, and we were all like really emotional. It was amazing. And you know, then I walked sort of, when they tell me pretty much straight away that they want me to join. And then I went all through the studio. I could see Tom, my boyfriend, and some of my best friends out there. And they were like going, yes, no, because obviously the previous time I hadn't got in that time, so I'd been crying that time. And it was, so I kind of looked at them like, oh, and then I was like, oh, and everyone was so happy. I mean, I've barely ever seen Tom cry, but he was almost crying.
Oh.
It was really sweet. Like, he obviously lives with me in London, and he knew how much I wanted it. Like, he's probably never seen me want something so much. So I think it really meant a lot to him as well, which was really nice. And yeah, it was an amazing day. It was the best feeling ever. But that's what we're trying to say. That's kind of the message of this whole chat. Yeah, is that if you're really passionate about something, you know, like as I said earlier on in the conversation, at school, honestly, I did not work that hard. As bad as it is
Yeah.
now, sorry, no, not to my mum and dad, but you know, they know that I didn't. I sort of would be off like dreaming, or I'd be like, oh, I was a bit like, but then when you find your passion, like with this training, with personal training and working for these studios, I give it my absolute everything because I love it so much, and I want to, you know, I want to help other people. And like I don't get a feeling like it from anything like as I do after a class, or you know, when I've had an amazing class. Honestly, the high I get is unbelievable. So that is our message: is you've got to really chase what you love, and you know, if you do something you're passionate about, you're going to give it everything you've got.
Well, I think that's what came across. So we did a bit of prep yesterday, and I think the direction was going to be about, you know, if you want something, go for it. But actually, I think the message that came out, and it got me thinking last night, was when was the last time I did, you know, something within work and got really emotional and really like passionate about it. And there's been a few times, like for me, one was when we did an event with Kylie Minogue because she was my absolute hero. And one was when we did this event in Dubai, our first event in Dubai, and I looked across like this private island and saw like 30 Make Events t-shirts, and it really got me thinking. And I thought, you know, there's going to be so many people at home. You know, I had a friend today that's an athlete, and it gives you that chance to think, right, well, what if I wasn't doing this? What would I do? And I think it's something that everyone could really, really reflect on during this time, is when did you last have that feeling? You may have had it really recently, and that's why you're really fighting and hanging on for your job or your career or your business. But if you haven't, I think it's a really good opportunity just to turn the phone off and just, you know, sit down with a notepad and just remember the times you've had that feeling. And it might not necessarily be in your career, it could be with your children or your friends. But I think you like energized me and inspired me yesterday to think, gosh, I really need to think about the times that that's really, really happened for me, like recently, and hold on to that and chase that feeling a little bit more. Because often 100%. We're chasing money, you know, money, promotion, you know, how many likes on Instagram, whatever, but you know, they're short-lived.
Exactly. They really are. You're completely right. You have got to hold on to that feeling and you know, keep chasing it, because soon, hopefully, fingers crossed, things, you know, things will settle down and we'll start to come, things will come back into a normality one step at a time. But yeah, you have got to keep thinking back to these times and use that as your motivation, use that as your driver to keep pushing, to keep going. Because it is very easy to, you know, everyone at the moment is having days where they're feeling awful. Motivated, and they get waking up like, oh gosh, you know, it's a struggle for everybody, even people who are the most motivated people in the world. Everybody is really struggling at the moment. But that is the key at the moment, 100%. You've got to hold on to those moments, those feelings that drive you, and you know, use that as your as your
well, another thing I think is interesting is so a few of you all know I just went to see Oprah Winfrey in LA, and she interviewed J-Lo, who is 50, who is insane. Cannot even believe how amazing she is, but not just the way she looks, actually, just the whole way that she comes across. And a big thing that came out is I think there's now a real push towards I know we've got a lot of younger people on here, but age in terms of like 50's the new 30. I mean, like, look at Davina, look at J-Lo, you know, all these people. And I think what was interesting for me, because how old are you, Lou?
29.
29. So when Lou got married, it wasn't all like plain sailing then, because then she went into doing, was it around, tell me what time you were working to and from every day?
When I got in?
Yeah, because you used to, well, you were doing like 16-hour days or something like that.
Well, I mean, it always really varies, to be honest, in this industry, because sometimes you'll have some hours in the day, but even when I have hours in the day, I'll be planning a playlist, because these sessions takes hours. I mean, for my cycle classes, for my Barry's, they'll take absolutely hours, because you have to have everything matching up completely with the right moments and everything. So yeah, I'd always be doing different plans, but some mornings I'd sort of be up at 5, and then I would get home at like 20 to 11, because I was doing the 9 p.m. slots just before this all happened. But a lot of the trainers will do that when they start.
And the music's everything in those classes, isn't it?
100%. Music, did you say?
Yeah, music's massive in
Oh
those
my
beauty.
God, yeah, the music is yeah, it's a massive part of it. And the planning for that, honestly, it does take hours. It really does.
Yeah.
You'd be trying to find new songs all the time, and then, as I say, like, everything has to match up 100% really, with the sprints, with the drops. It's a lot of planning, but it's worth it, you know, when you do the class and it all comes off, it's all matching up perfectly. It is 100% worth it for everybody involved.
Because I think what I find is just interesting about that, and a kind of message that I want to put out there, is that, you know, I think what this lockdown, it certainly has taught us all patience, because you can't have what you want when you want it now. Like, you are literally living day to day. And I think another thing that Oprah said was, you know, your 20s is about the graft. Your 30s, you know, your 30s is about kind of finding what it is you want to do. And then your 40s is kind of like when you start to really push like your passion. And I think a good message here is like, I so in my comfort zone up till that age. And I think at the moment, if people have been made redundant or furloughed, or that come to the end of their job and they're in their 20s, early 30s, and thinking, oh my God, like, you know, I've got no time. You've got so much time. And, you know, and I'm in a situation, you know, we're really, really positive that everything's going to work out. But, you know, I'm 43, and, you know, that you are facing that thought that you could start again, but it's never too like, late for sure. And I just, you know, so I think it's just interesting. You've got the dream, but then it is the graft, isn't it? And you've got to graft now because you want to climb the ladder at Barry's. So
absolutely, yeah. And at the moment, everyone, you know, like, all my friends and colleagues are experiencing the same thing. We're realizing that the online training at the moment is going to be our way of life for a little bit. Like, who knows how long, but now I'm basically having to start something all over again. So I had to start from scratch when I started my training. And this sort of same thing is happening now. Of course, I've like luckily built a client base, and, you know, I work at 2 studios, which is amazing and really helps. But 100%, we're all having to like learn about this online way of life right now, and who knows how long it's going to go on for. But luckily, a lot of us obviously love what we're doing, so we're gonna, like, right now I'm giving this everything, this online stuff. I'm like constantly thinking of new ways of how I can sort of promote myself, and I am having to promote myself constantly now, because before it was like, yes, I was doing posts about my classes for the studios, but now I'm literally just promoting myself for my own classes online. So it's actually a whole new ball game.
I'm vulnerable, very vulnerable.
Definitely, 100%. You know, it's tough, and you are like, I was speaking to a good friend of mine who's also in the industry the other day, and she's doing amazingly, but she was getting upset because she started comparing herself to other people, how many people, you know, people are putting up their like Zoom things and how many people they're getting or whatever. And they're comparing themselves. You're comparing yourself constantly on things like Instagram.
I think we all are,
as amazing as Instagram is in so many ways, especially now, it obviously does have its setbacks, and people are unfortunately really comparing themselves. Not good for people's mental health sometimes. You know, I certainly do it, you know, without even realizing. Sometimes you're looking through Instagram and you're like, oh God, you know, but people are probably thinking the same thing about you. It's you have to try so hard not to get caught up in it and focus on you.
I'm having a lot of jealousy over my cooking skills at the moment, because I'm teaching myself to cook, and I just think I'm getting a lot of haters. Right, what I want to do is, because I'm conscious people have started to ask questions, which is brilliant.
Yeah, they are,
but just very, very quickly, you have had corona. I was speaking to you through the whole thing.
I'm pretty sure it must have been. Tom was like, oh, you know, it may not have been, but I mean, it was.
But to be positive, you have recovered. You are feeling better. So just give us a quick synopsis, because one of my best friends has had it and has really struggled with the breathing. So just give us an idea of what it was like. And you've taught a class today, so you have recovered, which is great.
So it all started. I had it was about 6 weeks ago now. I had a very mild cough. That was the sort of first symptom, and I had that for about 2 days. It was so mild, I thought it was nothing. Really, I was like, I'm fine. I had a cough a few weeks ago, so I was like, I'm fine. Anyway, after the 2 days, that like afternoon, I started to feel freezing, absolutely freezing. And I'm having like a boiling hot shower. Nothing would warm me up. And that was when I started to think, oh dear, like this could be it. And then that evening, I knew it must have been, because I started to, like, my temperature was through the roof. And yeah, it just made me feel awful, just wiped out completely. I barely moved off the sofa or bed for a good week. Then afterwards, the week after, when I started to feel a little bit better, I tried to do things. I wasn't really training much. I was maybe doing light jogs. But honestly, I felt awful. I felt like I'd lost all my fitness. I'm not even joking. Like, I did a 5K run and I was so slow, and I was like really struggling. And yeah, it was weird. But I mean, I knew that was going to be the case for a little bit. But I quickly built it back up, to be honest. I would say after two sort of weeks post having it, I started to feel a lot more normal. But you know, I've had another good friend have it, who actually, I think she's on here, and she was similar to me, although she did have a bit of the breathing difficulties as well. I didn't have that, but she does have a bit of asthma. I luckily didn't have that. But yeah, I do feel a lot better now. I know that some people are sort of struggling and maybe having a bit of a relapse. So I think you have got to be really careful if you do feel like you've got it, not to go for it too quickly afterwards.
Oh, my best friend that's had it, we are literally telling her off all the time. I don't know if she's watching, because she's a proper gym bunny. And we're like, just stop stressing over the exercise, like just get better. So
definitely.
Right, okay, it'd be great if we could have a few questions. I did see one pop up before, which was about, do you think the fitness industry is going to change now that everybody's got used to training on Zoom? What's your kind of feedback on the industry?
Yeah, I saw someone actually discussing this on Instagram the other day, and I do think it may change a little bit. But my honest opinion is that maybe people who are a little bit older are going to be more worried. I know that it's affecting younger people as well, but I genuinely think, people who are sort of mid to a little bit older are going to be a lot more careful probably for most of the rest of this year, I would say. I know that, like, my mum and dad have been doing a lot of the online training, and they're loving it. And they're like, actually, for us, it's a lot more convenient. They don't have to go anywhere. They just, set up their laptop. It's there. It's great. They're really. I've heard that from a few different people. But then, as we know, there's no feeling like being in a studio like Barry's, like Core Collective, like one of these studios, like, when I teach cycle, you can't get that from being in your room, you just can't. But then again, it's different for different classes, I would say. So some classes, I think, absolutely, it's not going to be like a tremendous difference. For example, like yoga, I think maybe, but I think classes like Barry's and stuff, you've got to be there. There's
never going to be
like that. And we're obviously doing the home workouts, which are great, and they're giving people a little slice of it. But unfortunately, it's not going to be that whole vibe, that whole thing, that whole atmosphere. So I think for some people, the online training is going to be the way forward for a little bit. But as I say, there's no experience quite like in these studios. So for a lot of people, they're going to be desperate actually to get back. But I'm sure it will affect people for a little bit. Unfortunately, I'm sure it will. But as
what advice would you give? What advice would you give? So I've got a friend that's starting in the fitness industry now, and I think there'll probably be a lot of people that have had a passion for fitness, and then have thought, oh, I'll do a course, or we were talking about if you have been furloughed or you've lost your job, we've been talking about finding your passion and finding a new industry. So there's going to be a lot of there's probably going to be an influx into the fitness industry in a challenge market, as events is challenged at the moment. So what would be your advice to somebody that's starting new into fitness, when we come out of this?
So they're doing the qualification right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they might have to try the online training for a little bit. It's such a vast avenue, really. Fitness. I mean, they need to really find their niche and what it is they want to do. Like, there's obviously so many avenues you can go down with fitness. For me, as I say, like, I knew that the sort of higher intensity, higher energy with like music, on the beat of the music, all this different stuff was my style and my thing. So I knew that's what I had to go for. And then, as I said, when I found the boutique studios, that was it for me. I realized there's no environment quite like it, no experience quite like it. So I'd say your friend, they've got to find what it is they really love and then go for that. I mean, at the moment as well, if people have got something that they've been meaning to go for, there are a lot of courses online at the moment, even some courses that are even free. There's the Optimum are doing quite a lot of courses, like nutrition courses. So that's a great one to do if you want to do nutrition, learn a bit more about that. That is free at the moment. So there's a few different ones you can do throughout this time. But yeah, I think if they're going into a new industry and they're not quite sure, they just basically need to break it down, find what it is that they really love, and go for that. But I do think for a little bit at the moment, yes, it is going to be different. I mean, it's all very unknown, isn't it? We have no idea how long it is going to be until studios and things open.
So another question I saw before actually was, we talked about a little bit about you stalking Anya at Barry's, and Courtney, who's on here, I don't know if she's still on, but so she did a little bit of stalking me. And when I have a lot of people that contact me at, like, that are at uni or, you know, at another agency and want to work with us, and I've always said that the best thing you can do is literally hit it at all angles. So connect on social media, post a CV, a little gift always goes down well. Email, like, literally attack it at all channels, and if you don't hear back, chase, but like in a really nice, friendly, tenacious way. And Courtney, for example, she just like literally kept messaging me on Instagram, and she was like, oh, please, and I think I passed it over to one of the team because I don't normally deal with the CVs, and they didn't get back to her, and then I felt so bad. I was like, oh god, I'm gonna have to meet this poor girl for a coffee, like nobody's got back to her, which isn't good for us, because obviously your marketing is anybody that you speak to. So I met her for a coffee in Costa Coffee, I think it was like a Saturday, and she was just so lovely. And I was like, what's your dream? What do you want to do? And she was like, well, I want to work and make events. And obviously, you know, that fluffs up your ego, because if somebody's saying they particularly want to work for you, so that, you know, that's good advice. Like, don't be afraid of flattering the company and the brand you want to work for. So we gave her work experience, and I do think this is a big point at the moment. I think people are going to have to do things for free, and you know, and as also it sounds like when I started to make events, we did quite a lot for free, as long as we knew we'd get like content that would grow our profile. And do you know what, I'll be totally honest, we might have to go back to doing a bit of that to get into markets that potentially, you know, we're now looking at virtual events and different experiences, and there might be a bit that we say to a client, look, can we do this for you? You can have the event or the branded products or whatever that may be, but can we have it to share on social? So Courtney did, I think, 2 days a week for about 2 months, free work experience. Now, sod's law, she would have absolutely got a job with us because she was fantastic, but obviously now we're not in that position. But the other thing that she's done through the whole of this is keep in touch, and just emailing me or WhatsApping me saying, are you okay? Like, how are you doing? And that, someone like me, that means the world at the moment. Anybody asking you, are you okay? That isn't like your best friend or whatever, or your family, is amazing. So that's a bit of advice that I want to give people. Don't think that, you know, say like with Anya or whatever, or me, for example, don't think that anyone, like, I love people saying how much they love make events, and I love people that want to work for us and chase us, because that makes me feel really good. And here she is, Courtney's just put little hearts up. It makes me feel really good, and it makes me feel really good about the business. And so I continually stalk a particular protein bars CEO on LinkedIn. I've got absolutely no shame, and just tell him that I am going to work with him one day. But there'll be a little bit of him that is flattered. So I think that's quite good advice at the moment, because people are low. And so anyone that would contact me and say, I'd love to work for you, that boosts me. So like, again, people out there that are looking at a brand or a company that they want to work with, don't feel defeated. Like, maybe just start them a little bit now while they're feeling a little bit vulnerable.
No, there's always ways. You're right. It's like, never give up with things like that. 100%. And normally, face to face is the best if you can in some way. Like, obviously, sometimes you can't, but like for me, you know, I emailed a few times, and I know she's so busy. I know she has so many people emailing her. So I knew I had to go and see her, do her class, and you know, chat with her, and sort of show her how keen I was. It's so important not to give up on
Yeah. Oh,
that.
I tell you what happened to us actually a few weeks ago. We were having a team meeting, and this guy just walked in the office. I was like, "Hi," and I was like, "Oh, hi. Have you got an appointment?" He was like, "No, just wanted to come and see you. I've got a beatbox band." Anyway, I recognised the name of the band, and then I was like, "Oh, we've got the whole team here. You might as well tell us all about you." And you know, he just walked in on the off chance, and then I think like 18 of the team were there, and so they heard firsthand what he did. Well, if he hadn't just walked in, you know, if he tried to make an appointment, I'd have probably fobbed him off. But I was
Definitely.
like, you know what? 10 out of 10
For effort.
tenacity. Yeah, definitely.
100%.
So one quick thing before we sort of wrap up, we've got about another 5 minutes. A couple of things I wanted to ask you. So people that haven't exercised, maybe struggling with exercise, we've still got a way to go. It's not too late. I think a few people are thinking now, God, how long have we got? It's too late to start something in lockdown. But it's not. So what would be your advice for people to get going? Maybe people are worried about money, so they don't want to pay for Zoom classes and things. What would be your advice?
Yeah, well, obviously there's so much out there at the moment, and there are a lot of studios doing free classes. You know, Barry's are doing 4 every day. And they're just half an hour.
You don't need a treadmill for them, do you, Lou? Just so people know, you don't need a treadmill for Barry's classes.
Exactly. You don't need anything. All you need is yourself, and they'll tell you at the start if you need like a few books or something that you've got around the house just to add a little bit of resistance.
Yeah.
So you don't need anything for those classes, really. They're half an hour. In the morning, you've got one at 8:20. You've got one at, this is weekdays, one at 9:30, 12:30, and 6:40. So there's 4 to choose from. I think you probably, like, you need to set the times and maybe set out in your diary for the week which ones you're going to do and stick with that. Sometimes I think if you can do Zoom classes, you know, most of them are only like £4 or £5.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's better if you do struggle with commitment and you do struggle with motivation.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you can, that's better, because then you've paid the money, you book it in, and you're going to do it. Whereas sometimes these other classes, you might be like, oh, I'll do it, and then you don't. So if you're struggling with motivation, I would say try to do that. Try things that you haven't tried before, that you haven't had time to try before. I was always very skeptical about Pilates and yoga. It was never really my thing. I was always like high intensity, but actually I do so much of the high intensity stuff. I need to balance it out with the yoga and the Pilates. And I got into that a few years ago now, but I would 100% recommend to try these new things as well. Yeah. Get into a routine. Make sure you're mixing up your training. You know, you don't want to get bored. Mix it up. A lot of people obviously are running. Just be careful of doing a lot of running on the roads. You know, it's a lot of impact on your joints and your body. You need to be careful, obviously, to prevent injuries. So try and tie it in with doing some yoga, some Pilates, and maybe these Zoom classes. You know,
we'll post. Shall we post after? We'll post your classes. Lou's got me into Pilates and yoga because I'm like obsessed. I'm forever chasing abs, which never seems to be coming my way. So she said to me to get into yoga and Pilates. So I've done a couple of her classes, even though her friends' classes, even though they're based in London, but I've loved them. And because I booked it on Zoom last night, I did not feel like it at all. I was having a bad evening last evening, but I booked it. So I did it, and because you were doing it, I did it. So we'll post those, and we'll post your classes, and we can put the Barry's ones up as well. And also, I just want to do a shout out for, I know you do online PT, but I just want to do a shout out for my PT Alison. Again, just very, very quickly, I hate working out my own, hate working out in the gym. So my PT Alison, who's normally at Hale Country Club, she did me an offer of so for the price of a normal PT, 45 minutes, that has been my absolute lifesaver, because I managed to get weights just before. But again, because I book it, I can't let her down, and I have to do it. So I've realised that for me to train in this period, I've got to do Zoom classes and I've got to do PT. And I would recommend online PT. My friend Lily, I think who was on here before, has just started with my PT, Alison, as well. And it just makes you commit, like you say.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll post all those. Now, just before we go, how does one combat the binge drinking or drinking too much, which I think all of us are doing a little bit of? I would never normally, I mean, I'm probably drinking too much on a drinking session, and then probably in the week a couple of times going, oh, I'll just have a gin. Where I would never do that normally.
No.
But obviously then you're worried about putting on weight and stuff like that. So what's your kind of advice with these indulgences? Somebody else, it might be chocolate. Like you said, you're going for chocolate. You don't normally.
No.
Yeah. What's your
I think
advice
during
with
this time, we've got to be a little kinder to ourselves, to be honest. And that's what I'm trying to get in my head, because I keep saying, you know, like normally, when I'm working normally, I try and stick to being a lot healthier in the week, and on the weekends I'm a lot more relaxed, and that seems to work really well for me. Like I mean, I'm not really strict by any means at any time. I'm not like counting my macros, and I'm just like balanced, but I do try and cut out, because I love chocolate and sweets. I try and cut most of that out in the week normally. Whereas at the moment, I am having a few biscuits in the afternoon with tea. I am having that, but I'm just thinking, you know, during this time, there's so many restrictions. There's like everything basically is being restricted. So don't restrict yourself too much, I would say. Be balanced. Don't beat yourself up if you're having a few more biscuits than normal or a bit more chocolate, but try not to go crazy, because that is honestly going to make you feel like shit. Like if I start binge eating or whatever, you do then feel awful. So just try and be balanced with that and be kinder to yourself, because you know you don't want to restrict yourself too much. But again, with drinking, I personally actually don't drink that much anyway, and I'm on some tablets at the moment for my skin, which actually I'm not really allowed to drink much on at all anyway, so that's kind of stopping me. I can have the odd glass of wine or gin and tonic, but not much. But again, with that, just try and think, if you're having a few too many, try and think how it'll make you feel in the morning. It's going to make you feel a lot worse. You're going to be more unproductive. But on the weekend, it's fine. But I think in the week, try maybe just have the odd glass of wine. But again, as I say, I think the real message I'm trying to get through is don't beat yourself up if you are having a little bit more than normal. If you do put on a tiny bit of weight, or whatever it is that you don't want to happen, I think, you know, try and exercise regularly. Keep yourself on a balanced level with everything. It's going to be the best way right now, because your mental health is so important at the moment. So try and stick to being as balanced as you can with your diet, with your drinking, with your exercise. I as obviously everyone knows, like, exercise is my passion and fitness, and it does make a huge difference to me, like mentally. If I can do a little session in the morning, it just clears my mind, and then I feel like actually I eat a lot healthier anyway if I'm feeling good from the exercise.
If you train,
so, I think get yourself into a really good routine. Try and get yourself up at a sort of same sort of time every morning in the week. Try and stick to a good routine. It's absolute key right now, because just after I was ill, I wasn't in a great routine, probably because I was still feeling a bit, you know, under the weather, and to be honest, it didn't make me feel great mentally. So I think that is 100% key, to stick to a good routine, to and not beat yourself up if you're having an odd drink or a little bit more than normal. You've got to do things that you really enjoy right now.
I think the Make Events team have taken it to a whole new level, but you know, we're just getting through it. Okay, well, I'm gonna finish it there. We've had really good engagement, and people seem to have stayed online, which is fantastic. I think when you're doing your social media, it's really good to know what people found interesting. So if anybody has got the time, just to DM me and say what were the particular points that they learned or stuff that they found interesting. It just helps us build our content for future events. I just want to say thank you so much. This is my first IG live, and you do feel a little bit
me too.
Nervous.
Well, I mean, I've done the Barry's ones, but this is my first question.
If we'd had four people, we'd have literally been fuming, wouldn't we? We've got on to like mid-30s. I'm excited about this. So we're going to go now.
One thing after you, please, darling?
Yes.
Have you finished?
Say that again. No,
I just wanted to say one thing after you, but I was just going to say, if anybody does want to know a little bit more about my training sessions, about my online classes, or anything to do with my training, if you want to receive my weekly newsletter, then if you could DM over to Holly or myself with your email, then I can get more information over to you. Or if you have any questions about anything, really.
I'm going to share all your stuff, and I do
amazing
class at 8 on a Friday, so I'll share it. It'd be great to see some other people there.